I want to welcome everyone here to the Red Carpet event put together by the Chamber of Commerce, the Kiwanis Club of Hamilton, and also the Rotary Club of Hamilton. So thank you.
With that, I also would like to take some time to thank the Chamber Centennial sustaining sponsors, Barclays, Butler Tech, City of Hamilton, Fort Hamilton Hospital, Mercy Health Fairfield, and StarTech. We'd also like to thank our event sponsor, MCM CPAs and Advisors, Chris Flagg. Chris is here in the audience somewhere. Chris? There he is. We also want to thank TV Hamilton for being here tonight and all of their efforts in promoting these events for us and capturing them in the archives. A special thank you to our caterers tonight, Basil 1791 and Courtyard by Marriott, who provided the desserts for tonight. A special thank you, and I don't know if she can hear me, but to Monica from Basil, who has gone over and above to give us a spectacular layout tonight and has worked tirelessly to make the room next door look as good as it looks. So thank you, Monica. I also want to introduce someone else. Justin Lichter is here tonight, and he is the Vice President of Industrial Realty Group, LLC. Hopefully my new friend. We've been working together over the past couple of weeks. Justin, where are you? Justin wanted to come up and welcome everybody. So, Justin, the floor is yours.
Hi, everybody. Thank you all for coming. This is really exciting for us to show off the building and show off what we've done. And, you know, we're really excited to move this forward to the next step, along with, you know, the city of Hamilton, all the great things that have happened here and the great direction that it's been moving. I think it's just ties in really well with what we have going on here and trying to elevate the whole city. This is exactly what our company does. We focus on adaptive reuse and reuse of, you know, functionally obsolete buildings and repurposing them around the country, and that's exactly what we're doing here. We hope to multi-tenant this building and redevelop it, and you can see what from the room next door and this room what we can do here. So thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Justin. And with that, it is my pleasure to introduce our mayor, Pat Moeller.
Wow, it's really great to be here at 3rd and Dayton. And thank you, Justin, for making it look so good here this evening. I want to do a special hello to Patricia Woodall. She's sitting here in the second row. Her husband worked in this building for Ohio Casualty for, I'd have to say 40 years maybe, but he was in administration, chairman of the board, and I went to school with her son. So, Patricia, it's great seeing you. Okay, let's get started. So I'm at a gas station on the west side wearing my Believe in Hamilton t-shirt made by Unsung Salvage on Main Street. I'm wearing a Cincinnati Reds baseball cap and jeans with a one-day beard. And the young man behind the counter at the gas station looks at my Believe in Hamilton shirt and says, "You must have a lot of faith." Okay? So I said, I sure do have a lot of faith. A lot of great things are going on in Hamilton. Then I said, "Hi, my name is Pat Moeller, Mayor of Hamilton." And then I shook his hand, and nice young man, very smart, hardworking. So it's great to have him working in our city. Tonight you're going to hear about Spooky Nook Sports Complex, 80 acres, which is an incredible new agriculture industry, and so many other projects. Our city manager, Joshua Smith, will be discussing those development projects and many others that he and our great, great city team have been working on this year. And we hope that you learn a lot tonight. But still, uninformed citizens are angry citizens. Now, that is a cartoon character, Homer Simpson, being chased by an angry mob, not to be confused with yours truly. So how do we inform our citizens? Well, we have city social media. It's a successful city circle emails, city websites, press releases, TV Hamilton, our communication specialist. But there is a new way online to communicate information that has great potential, and that is the My Hamilton residential portal. It includes the Explore Hamilton page for parks, walking trails, sculptures, museums, and other recreation. It includes the My Home page, which informs you of your home's recycling day, trash day, street sweeping day, and other information that's about your neighborhood. It includes the What Are They Doing page. I put in there, what the hell are they doing page, because I'm sure I hear that sometimes. But that is for infrastructure projects, road closing, road projects, and detours. Then we've got the What's Happening page for special events. And it's kind of tough to see, but that one features Operation Pumpkin, which is coming up. And that's just an example. It even includes the Hamilton's Urban Forestry page for the location of the various kind of trees in Hamilton. That's got a lot of potential. The goal is to add to these apps this winter a snow treatment app so you know in real time when your street and other streets that you use are being treated and plowed. So the My Hamilton residential portal is about neighborhoods, which leads us to 17 Strong, the 17 Strong neighborhood organization, which helps keep residents informed and builds relationships among neighborhood residents. The 17 Strong micro grant program has improved signage, it's improved parks, sponsored special events, and many other projects. And there have been many successes strengthening our neighborhoods this year, including the North End with the Renew program led by super volunteer Joanne Wallish, the Lindenwall with the Protocol Group, and the Jefferson Neighborhood Alliance. Some examples of what 17 Strong has been able to do. The crosswalk was promised by the city of Hamilton, and that's the crosswalk that leads to Moser Park. And the city delivered on that promise. Also, there's a vehicle speed monitoring that was conducted by the Hamilton Police Department. Special events in our parks during the summer were led by Hamilton City school teachers and their families. And 17 Strong will be hosting a party on the main High Street Bridge this Sunday afternoon with a community photo that's going to be taken. So join 17 Strong, go to the events, make a difference in our neighborhoods. And that's a second photo of the crosswalk to Moser Park. When that picture was taken, there were so many children in that park. But it makes it safer because before a couple of years ago, there was no crosswalk. The crosswalk got done this year. Cities of Service, as part of the 17 Strong initiative, Hamilton received a competitive Cities of Service Love Your Block grant, providing the city with $25,000 in grant money, 2 AmeriCorps Vistas, and technical support to improve some of our neighborhoods, 1 block at a time. So stay tuned for news about those improvements. Now let's talk about the Miami University Hamilton neighborhood. First, happy 50th birthday to Miami University Hamilton, Dean Bishop Clark and Chris Cannell's committee. They had a great celebration this past weekend with an historical time capsule, a picnic, family activities, including a meet and greet with a penguin, which absolutely was very, very successful. An educational booth, and there's a new Street Spark mural on one of the buildings at Miami University Hamilton. The birthday also reflects Miami University's 50-year partnership with the city of Hamilton, and has been a great partnership with Miami administration, professors, students, and including our Miami Downtown Center for Civic Engagement. A little bit of trivia from former Miami professor and friend of Hamilton, Dr. Kurt Ellison. When all of you Miami graduates sing or listen to the Miami Alma Mater song or the marching band song, those songs were composed by one of Hamilton's first mayors, Mayor Raymond Burke, who also created our Hamilton City Charter. Now that's a great Jeopardy game question. Talking about neighborhoods, a 204-unit apartment development near Miami University, Hamilton, is being planned by ARC Investment. It will look something like that slide right there. This development, plus the new business opportunities that will spring up around it, helps build the Miami University Hamilton neighborhood. And our city manager will be giving you some more details about this project. You probably can't read that too well, but as you already know, Hamilton's citizens own all of our utilities. And owning utilities is more than just flipping a switch. It involves maintaining safe and reliable utilities, making capital improvements, and making necessary repairs. Owning utilities also means smart decision-making, managing utility assets, and managing utility budgets. Our city infrastructure and finance professionals have managed to save the utility budget over $10 million annually. How do they do that? You can't read it on there, but I'll kind of give you some sketches. Through paperless billing, divesting from excess power and selling excess power, increasing our eligibility for renewable energy credits, selling renewable energy credits, bond refinancing. And when I originally asked about what was going on with utilities, I learned that lime from our water treatment process is being regenerated and reused, saving $350,000 per year alone on that reuse. And that's just impressive utility management. There is a strong working relationship between our city utility department and our Hamilton Mill, including the water industry startup competition Pipeline H2O, hosted at our Hamilton Mill. Now, let me mention two international water industry startups that have a Hamilton connection through that project Pipeline H2O. Adviso, the gentleman on the bottom, is from London, England, and they have created a smart dashboard for water utilities to allow utility customers to review energy and water consumption, as well as to improve communication between the customer and the utility supplier. Geo Interactive, the gentleman above that, is from Sydney, Australia. And Geo Interactive, they have created a diagnostic underground drones that seek and identify breaks in sewer lines before the break becomes a problem. Think of drones being above, these are drones down below. So that's an example of what the project Pipeline H2O is doing with the Hamilton Mill in our city. Challenges addressed. The homeless issue affects cities smaller and larger than us. Hamilton now has a greater awareness of the issue and the needs. No other city has been more effective than Hamilton in matching social service agencies directly with the homeless through the Moving Up initiative led by the Hamilton Police Department, Butler County Commission, and participating social service agencies. But there are three steps that are crucially important for this issue: individual needs assessment, case management, and aftercare follow-up. While we do not have modular or reusable housing, as like a city like Seattle has, our area does have a faith-based family promise housing, the Neighborhood Housing Services, Lou Armstead Dream Center for Temporary Housing, and Serve City. But we are addressing the challenge. Illegal dumping. Super volunteers Kathy Schwabel of the RNA and Frank Downey of Protocol attended the Ohio Litter Summit recently, and they came back with some very informative reports. Regarding litter issues, litter pickup crews can include core community service detail, juvenile court youth, adopt-a-road businesses who sponsor cleanups, and special groups such as the Hamilton Employee Volunteer Green Team. But imagine there being an ambassador program comprised of individuals who can do simple litter pickup, give directions to visitors, and simply be eyes on the street for our city needs and city responsiveness. Regarding illegal dumping issues, which seems to occur in our older neighborhoods and alleys, the city of Dayton has been very aggressive on this issue. The Montgomery County Sheriff's Department handles Dayton's illegal dumping criminal cases. In Dayton, 50 cameras have been installed in small lock boxes that run on simple AA batteries. The cameras capture evidence of dumping, which has led to many criminal prosecutions. A conviction results in a 60-day sentence, a $500 in court costs and fines, a $200 order to be paid for the cleanup of the dumping site, 1 year probation, and 20 hours of community service. To accomplish this program template of litter and illegal dumping, it's going to take resources. So it's going to take money for programs such as the Ambassador Program and for that camera program. But there are ongoing efforts and discussions to address this particular challenge. Workforce development. As jobs are created either through new investment or expansion of current businesses. City Council wants those jobs filled by our Hamilton residents and Butler County residents. And add to those jobs in the new growth industries the ever-increasing need for more nurses, more construction workers, more truck drivers. The demand for job-ready workers is very high right now. High schools are faced with the challenge of making students ready for college, but also they're now making students ready for immediate workforce demands. And technical school curriculum have to be flexible to be able to teach job skills within a short time frame to meet the industry demand. Locally, regarding workforce development, we've had roundtable discussions, job fairs, consultants, data collection. So we have the awareness and need step of the problem already checked off. Some of the solutions to the workforce demands could be in the minds and the experience of the business, community, and school leaders in this room this evening. Some of the solutions to the workforce issue could be those individuals who are unintentionally overlooked, the physically disabled, the visually or hearing impaired, our senior population, the autistic population, or the underemployed who do not know the steps to take to climb the ladder to a middle-class job. Recently, I heard about the Butler County Employment Success Program. It is a new program featuring individual assessment, case management, and referrals to several existing agencies to eradicate barriers to employment. I want to say thank you to some of those organizations that you probably can't read up there, but Self and Lifespan and the others for your efforts in improving job skills for the underemployed and the unemployed. Butler County is not alone in a workforce development issue, but that issue is being addressed. Infomercial time about Hamilton and Lindenwold history. You might not be able to read that, but hopefully you can see that. Located at the west end of Williams Avenue at Neyland Boulevard, Lindenwold Powerhouse powered Hamilton streetcars from 1906 until 1926. Now it is the home of the Officer Bob Gentry Park, the Greater Hamilton Safety Council Safety Town for youth, softball games, and part of the original tower still stands. But I have never actually seen that particular view of Lindenwold. I've never seen a photo, and it's really kind of cool. But that's part of our history, and I'm glad we have at least kept the tower. Okay, now some brief comments about people, events, and organizations that I have the opportunity to get to know better this year. Okay, I did not get a chance to meet Sasquatch, okay? But I love that beef jerky commercial. There are two types of people. You either run with Sasquatch or you run from Sasquatch. In the business of government and development, there's a virtue in being bold, there's a virtue in being smart aggressive, and there's virtue in having a fear defect, not having fear. I've kind of learned that in my years being on city council. In other words, it's like running with a legendary Sasquatch. Many of the remaining slides are of people who are not afraid to succeed, who are smart, aggressive. That is not Sasquatch. It is Jeff Thurman, although I've never seen Jeff Thurman and Sasquatch in the same room at the same time. But thank you, Jeff, for the decades you spent building Community First Solutions and improving the healthcare field here in the city of Hamilton. Okay, that is Sarge. That is not Steve Timmer, but Sarge does represent Steve Timmer in our Parks Conservancy. Bulldogish in goal setting and providing customer service with a smile, just like Sarge, who greets people at the Parks Conservancy office. Thank you, Steve, Audrey, and the Parks gang for another great year of parks. Thank you for Sarge as well. Really cool dog. Okay, there's a special event here recently held, and we're going to back off the aggressiveness here for a second, but there's some artists who aren't afraid of displaying their great artistic talent. And this talent was displayed at the 100th birthday party for Community First Solutions that was held at Park 5, the top of our municipal garage. But those artists are Kim Pochard and Draco Krall, and they artistically chalked the timeline history the 100 years of Community First Solutions. And it was really, really neat to see that. Now, the young lady, Kim Pochard, moved away from Hamilton, came back, and now lives, works, and creates art in downtown Hamilton. Both of those artists live in our downtown art space community. But that was really kind of some neat art at a very, very special event. Thank you, Danielle Webb, for that event. I had the opportunity to sit down and talk recently with the pastor Felix Russo of New Life Mission about the needs of the disadvantaged in Hamilton. His views are practical, his goals are achievable, and he will continue to make a difference in people's lives. And I thank him and the other faith-based groups in Hamilton addressing the needs of our community. All right, Olympic champions. Nika Swagler, pictured on the right, has some disabilities. But do not bother mentioning that to her. Doesn't stop her. She's a high school graduate, has taken classes at Miami University, has not missed a day of work at ThyssenKrupp Bilstein, and by the way, was also a silver medal winner in team golf at the USA Special Olympics Games in Seattle with Molly Grimm, who's also pictured. She represented our state in the USA Special Olympics national event. Now, wouldn't Spooky Nook Hamilton be a great host for some USA Special Olympics events? We hope that happens, and I tell you, Nika could light the torch. She is such a neat, neat lady. We met her at council about a month or so ago. All right, the Mallory K. Knabb Youth Forum and Brennan Kinch. The Youth Forum, in memory of Mallory K. Knabb, put on yearly by her parents, Hamilton Council member Tim Knabb and Pam Knabb, is a very special event. Young people from Baden High School and Hamilton High School talking together about improving Hamilton. That alone is powerful, smart discussion, and I've had the opportunity, that's the back of my head there, to hear the discussions. This year, at a visually impaired young man, Brennan Kinch, who spoke to the group. He simply wants to get around Hamilton to be able to work and socialize just like the rest of us. Brennan just wants to work and enjoy the city like we all do. He and the Youth Forum attendees, including the Hamilton Youth Commissioners, are already leaders in this city. I think two of the youth commissioners are here this evening. Dershi Ambani, would you please stand up, from Hamilton High School? Thank you, Dershi, for being here. We swore her in recently as a Hamilton Youth Commission member, but she's been at the youth forums, and she's going to be vice mayor on Civics Day for City Council. And is Allison Sharp here by chance? Allison also, I think, plays tennis for her school, but she's also in the Youth Commission. We're also very proud to have her be involved with our city. Wounded Warriors visit Foundation Field. This summer, Foundation Field played host to the Wounded Warrior amputee softball team, and what a great bunch of heroes. You have not seen grit. You have not seen competitive spirit until you've seen a soldier with no legs, actually with just the blades, dive head first into first base. That is their competitive spirit. I had a great time meeting them. They are heroes. And, this is going to sound like a broken record, wouldn't Spooky Nook Hamilton and Hamilton be a great host for a Wounded Warrior softball tournament? Pastor Shack Job Mentoring Program. Pastor Shack, I'm not sure if she's here. She's in the back. All right, stand up, Pastor. I mean, we're talking fearless and smart, aggressive. Now, she's pictured here with some young people who I think were in the program for 3 years. Trinity Jarrett, Dariana Singletary, Davin Matthews, I screwed up your son's name, Kenya McCoy, and they're wearing the blue shirts of the Pastor Shack Youth Job Mentoring Program. That's a life skills, job skills summer program, and thank all of you who sponsored that program. And we had lunch at the fire department, fire headquarters, with all those people in that slide. And Kenyon McCoy, kind of taller young man in the middle, asked me if he could be a better mayor than me. And I just said, yep. So, over 100 years of public service for the city of Hamilton, Ohio. From left to right, Richard Seifries, 36 years working at Hamilton's Greenup Hydroelectric Power Plant. Gentleman in the gray T-shirt. He brought his radio and everything. He was still working even during the special party we had where Joshua Smith gave him a watch. Wason Cooper next to him, 35-plus years of working at Greenup and the Meldal Hydroelectric Power Plant. And what's kind of neat is Wason on the right of that slide was the best man in Richard's wedding. So they know each other for a long time. And that is Richard's wife to the far left of the slide there to the left. Then we got Scott Halcomb on the right side of that slide. And Scott and his family. Scott was born in Hamilton and raised his family in Hamilton. This man is Hamilton through and through. And he worked for the Hamilton Gas and Water Utility as an employee for 30-plus years. You may have seen him at some of your businesses. Just a fine, fine gentleman. Could all city employees and Hamilton Council, of course, please stand up and be recognized for being a great team at this time. All Hamilton City employees, please stand at this time. Everybody, including City Council. These folks are great, great public servants, and I'm just proud to know them. In conclusion, and now get ready for Joshua Smith. Musician David Shaw of the Revivalists said it right when he said that Hamilton is going through an uprising of positive energy. There's a slightly older rocker named Bruce Springsteen. He said it right when he said sometimes things are going so well that 1 + 1 = 3. In Hamilton, things are so positive right now, 1 + 1 = 3. The right people are in the right place at the right time for Hamilton's now and for Hamilton's future. And a large reason for that is because the next speaker, our city manager, Joshua Smith. Joshua Smith.
That's loud. I had this amazing entrance planned, and then Lou Hollinger came in the back and rode one of those panels into the room 10 minutes in the mayor's speech. I'm like, he stole my thunder, but that was better than anything I ever saw Kramer on Seinfeld do the way you entered that room. I'm sorry, Lou, he looks embarrassed. But, all right, I know you're wondering about this microphone, and I had to question it. I'm like, I'm not doing a Britney Spears video. I'm doing the State of the City address. And they're like, don't worry. They said Tom Nye loaned it to us. It was part of his personal collection. But wherever he's at. State of the City. First and foremost, you always have to start with thank you. And again, the slides never do enough, but want to thank the Chamber for putting this together. I know how difficult it is. I know especially in moving locations. It was a challenge. The Rotary Club and the Kiwanis for sponsoring it. MCM, CPAs, and advisor, Chris Flagg, thank you. Thank you to City Council. You know, I was thinking about this earlier today. This is the mayor and I's 9th State of the City as a team. 9. I don't feel that old, but I want to thank in particular, obviously all members of council, but 5 of the 7 in that photo were here from the very beginning. And I can remember some of those early State of the City addresses, and it was, what do you talk about? And it wasn't a whole lot. It was like a convenience store maybe had opened up, or it was lean the first 2 years. Now, Councilman Bonstein's here with his wife. This is because it's date night. That's the only reason he's here tonight. But yeah. Thanks to the Parks Conservancy, the Corps, our 2 biggest partners, at least my time here, in terms of the partnership that we've created with both of them. A lot of the progress you have seen in this community has been due to their efforts. The Hamilton Community Foundation. Every step of the way, the Hamilton Community Foundation has partnered with the city during my tenure here, and they have been absolutely tremendous. The volunteers. All the events that you see put on in Hamilton, 98% of that is run through volunteers. And Karen Whitmer, her recruiting efforts, getting the volunteers out. Yes, I heard someone, a round of applause for Karen. I know it's a lot of crazy early mornings, it's a lot of weekends, it's a lot of evenings, but the events that happen in Hamilton truly is really what's making Hamilton a special place to be. I want to take a moment and talk about celebrating our values. We recognize employees on an annual basis based on the values that we created several years ago, the organizational values for the city of Hamilton. Boyce Swift, for Passion for Hamilton. I think Boyce is here. Is Boyce here? Where? Oh, there's Boyce hiding in the back. I'm not talking to Boyce right now because he's left the city and now he's working for Woody Fitton in the Y. But I have a plan. We'll see next year at the State of the City where Boyce is working. Sergeant Fishwick for owning the outcome. Sergeant Fishwick in particular was very instrumental in bringing the murder of Patrick Walterman, our firefighter here who lost his life a couple years ago. But I want to thank Sergeant Fishwick. He could not be here tonight, but he bird-dogged this case like you would not believe. So I want to thank him. I want to thank Officer Ernie Huff for earning the respect. Ken Callahan for sense of urgency. Mr. Callahan works on a lot of the equipment that our firefighters, our police officers, our public works employees rely on to get the job done on behalf of the city. Officer Brian Wynn on innovation did a tremendous job writing multiple grants and funding a lot of things for the city of Hamilton. And Debbie Vintage. Debbie, stand up for a second. Go ahead. Oh, yes, I'm sure. She's like, are you sure? Yes. When I took the job as city manager in Hamilton, I know you have to remember this. The weekend before I started, I'm up at Oktoberfest, and I'm in line for a sauerkraut ball. Debbie's in line right in front of me, and I start talking to her, and she was the first city employee outside the ones I was interviewing with that I formally met. But I was thrilled when Debbie won this award on the inclusion. She does a tremendous job. Debbie, thank you. And finally, IRG. This photo in particular I thought was fitting. I'm not sure who our historians are in the room. I believe this is about 1920. 26, someone said? Well, let's call it the 1920s. I heard someone say 1920, 26. We'll say sometime during the 1920s, this building came about. And my presentation tonight is going to talk about Jim Collins' concept of what he calls preserving the core while making progress. And I'll get into the more details about that, but it is truly fitting that we are here tonight. And again, I really want to thank the folks at IRG. I believe we have 5 people here in attendance tonight from IRG. Without their efforts and the money they poured in this building in the last 30 days, we would not be sitting here. So thank you, IRG, again. So before I jump into the formal part of the presentation, I want to talk about a concept I spoke about 2 years ago at the State of the City, which is Jim Collins' flywheel concept. And when I first came in September of 2010, again, Hamilton was a little bit different at that time, and it was difficult to establish a vision and get people moving in the same direction. I can stand up here today, 8 years and about 2 weeks after my start date, and tell you that flywheel is turning with greater velocity now than it ever has. And it's because of the partnerships that you see on that screen, but there's also where it says, and many others right below the flywheel, because you can't list all the partnerships. It's been tremendous. And the one thing that makes Hamilton so unique is the fact that it's not about ego. It is not about who gets credit. It's simply about results. People want results. People demand results. And I believe that 10 years from now, 12 years from now, I'll probably be gone, but I'll probably be demoted, but Pat Mueller will still be the mayor. I honestly believe that what we've done as a group, as a community, has set the table for the next 30 to 40 years. And the success that you will see coming to this community is because of those entities and many others that have grabbed a hold of that flywheel and started pushing in the right direction. All right, so Jim Collins talked about preserving the core, stimulating progress. So we dumbed it down a little bit, and we just said preservation and progress. So I'm going to give you an example. So Walt Disney came about in the 1920s. Walt Disney as a company came about in the 1920s. And they had established early on what they called, what were their core values: passion, fanatic attention to detail, Disney magic, bringing happiness to millions. And they started off as an animation company, as a cartoon company. In the 1930s, they changed, They went to full-length feature movies. In the 1950s, they introduced the Mickey Mouse Club and showed up on television. In the 1960s, they started opening up theme parks. So the takeaway here is the core values never changed. But they had to change as an organization, otherwise they'd become irrelevant. So they changed as an organization. So when you think about Hamilton, what is important to us from a preservation standpoint, it's the authenticity that being a city since 1791 brings. The history, the architecture, the real neighborhoods and businesses, our industrial heritage. And when we talk about Spooky Nook a little bit later, that is why that piece of it is so important to me. The progress, we're using iconic buildings, diversifying our economy, recruiting, retaining jobs, blending generational residents with new residents. What I call enduring short-term pain for long-term gain. And I just want to stop on that one for a second. If you are a member of the Main Street Association, will you stand for a moment, please? I know how difficult it's been with the road under construction, replacing a 100-year-old water main, putting the street lights in, and it's terrible. I mean, I've heard from many of them that sales are way down, business is down, foot traffic's down. Again, I know it's easy for me to stand up here and say short-term pain for long-term gain. All I'm asking is hold on a little bit longer. We'll get you open. Highlight the education in the arts and improving traffic infrastructure. So preservation progress. I want to just go through some slides. And again, I apologize. Some of you in this room have probably seen a slide deck similar to this in the past, but some of you have not. And I showed them to Sam Byler, the president of Spooky Nook, earlier this afternoon. I was just trying to gauge his reaction on some of the slides. He's like, leave them all in. He goes, it's important. He goes, even if people have seen them before, to show them again. So the first building, I know Sarah and Dave Van Landingham are here tonight. Their building. And when you think about the impact of what it was 4 or 5 years ago, and the fact that today that you have a business in there, you have a family in there, you have civic leaders in there, that to me is the best multiplier that you could create for a community. The inside of their apartment, their living quarters. I shouldn't call it an apartment, it's more like a palace, but it is awesome. They probably have the nicest living space in Hamilton. And literally what was a building 5 years ago that was completely shut down and looked like that. So right there, if there's any slide that embodies what we can do as a community, I think that's the slide. The park space. Again, a few short years ago, it was a weedy patch of nothing. And I remember there was a conversation among many folks, do we keep it as a building pad and hope a building will come eventually? And it's like, we have 1 million square feet of empty space right now. I don't think a building's going to come. So it's the park space itself, I mean, it serves multiple purposes. First and foremost, obviously, it's a park. Second of all, if you live in art space or if you live in the Mercantile Lofts, you now have a place to take your dog that looks a little bit nicer than what was on the left. And finally, it opened our eyes to structures that we had never really thought about before, such as the McDoulan parking garage behind it. Once the mural went on, the light bulb goes off. It's like, why can't this be another outdoor space for us? And for those of you that attended the party, Community First Solutions party several weeks ago, on top of that, it is a tremendous asset to the community that I think will just gain velocity in terms of being used. Elder Bierman, again, 160,000 square feet, 4 floor plates of 40,000 each, just sitting dark and empty. Now, for the most part, is vibrant. Municipal Brew Works. That photo was one of the first times that building was shown. I think that looks like Mark Jackson in the red coat. Kim, I see your husband standing there facing the camera. I wasn't there that day, so you won't see me. But Anthony Seppi, who's with us tonight, it was his vision to have a microbrewery there. And this worked out. I remember when they first brought it to me, I'm like, a microbrewery? He's like, and we promised this, we did that. I'm like, that's never going to work. I mean, I was a skeptic. Of all people, I was a skeptic early on. And can you think of a small business that has opened in the last 5 years that has generated as much excitement and traffic as this? I can't. I mean, it's incredible. So thank you to the Municipal Brew Works people. That is an awesome beard. I need to grow one of those. That's what we're going to do for our 10th State of the City next year. You and I are going to grow beards like that. And we're going to wear tuxedo T-shirts. Life Ray in the second floor of the Robinson Schwinn building. I mean, again, it's just, I remember in 2012 when we announced at the State of the City that Life Ray was coming, it was the first, I think, new business that was not a chain that was announced during my tenure here. I remember I almost started crying because I was so desperate for something to announce, but they have been tremendous assets to the community, and again, it took space that needed some reimagination and turned it into something great. The CDA office, and actually, I bet Mike and Cindy will tell you that's a good photo of that office because I know it looked a lot worse than that the first time they walked through it. Steve Kuhn is with us tonight. Where's Steve at? There he is. I mean, it takes someone as crazy as Steve Kuhn to see past that and to bring that thing back to life. I'm going to tell you one thing about Steve Kuhn and Brandon Sarber. Steve Kuhn and Brandon Sarber, an odd couple, but they both, I swear on my life, probably before they even knew each other, preached the same thing to me because I was dead wrong on my vision for Hamilton. Those two got my mind right, and I think the vision's been on target mostly because of those two telling me I was wrong. Flourish Home, I know they're here with us tonight. Thank you. Again, I mean, Tom Cigar had a tarp holding up the wall. I mean, I know people love Tom Cigar. I like going into Tom Cigar, but that building was going to fall in at some point, and something had to happen. And again, it takes someone with a vision greater than mine, because I'll be honest, if you asked me, I would have said you probably had to tear it down, because I don't know construction as well as some people. And the fact that Doug was able to go in and turn this from that, to me, is incredible. Hey, Danny Crank's with us tonight. I didn't see you there, Danny. Danny tells me he has bigger arms than Sheriff Jones. I'm not sure if that is true or not. Oh, look at that. Who's been to Two Little Buds? I mean, again, another great small business that has come in and took a space that, again, if something had not happened with that space, it would have probably through functional obsolescence just died. And to have someone come in, again, a core project, but to have a tenant come in as great as Two Little Buds has just been tremendous for the city. This one in particular, again, I wasn't sure if this was going to be a teardown. For those of you that do not recognize it, this is the former Fifth Third building, now the Kirsch building. It is, I would walk over here and talk to you folks more, but every time I get by the speaker, I get the feedback, so I got to stay on this side of the room. It is incredible when you go in there today. And again, a building that I think most people would have given up on. Again, it takes someone with a greater vision than I to come out with something that looks like this. But John, where's John Kirsch at? I think John's here. Is Peter here with you tonight too? Peter's over there. And your dad's here, John, isn't he? Where's Jack at? The worst part about giving the State of the City address is knowing that Jack Kirsch is in the crowd. He's like, what is that joker up there doing? I could take things over, and I would get this city whipped into shape in about 30 days. All right, so we have more opportunities. We talked about some of the successes, and we had a meeting about a week ago with the owner of the Rentschler building. And again, the Rentschler building still looks great on the outside. It's way underutilized on the inside. You can see back in probably the 1930s, it was a tremendous mixed-use building. You can see the old Paramount Theater right behind it. But again, this is a building that has a ton of potential. And we met with the ownership. Actually, Steve was at that meeting. We talked about how it could be reused. I mean, it is perfectly set up for apartments up, offices down. It is your quintessential mixed-use project. And we're really going to work hard with the ownership group to see if we can revitalize this building. The Beckett Mill, I mean, I went by today, and I'm embarrassed about how terrible it looks. It's owned by a company outside of the state, and we try to work with them as close as possible, but it's terrible. I mean, and then I found this historic photo via Aaron Hufford, and it's Conrad Getz, 60 years with Beckett Paper, 1873 to 1933. And you think about someone that gave their life to a company like that, and if they saw that building today, what they would be feeling. And again, it's one of the many opportunities we have, and something we're going to have to keep working on. Building at the corner of Main and C Street. It's an iconic building in Hamilton. It just sits there. The city actually owns this building now, so we're working hard to find someone to come in and do something with it. The mill in Lindenwall, again, several 100,000 square feet that has very few people actually working inside of it. It's got very little life. but it's a building, again, that it should not be in that state. And it's hard because when you have building stock that in many cases is 100+ years old, there's not a lot of people in line outside of Steve Kuhn. There's not many people in line like saying, hey, I can do this project. I can figure this out. And we work as a staff very, very hard to find and connect those people to projects like this. So we get to 3rd and Dayton, a building I called Ohio Casualty Complex for the first 8 years I was here. In the last 2 weeks, I've now started calling 3rd and Dayton. And that's one of those buildings. Over 450,000 square feet sitting in the heart of our downtown that's been empty since the day I arrived now has life in it. And the fact, again, that they let us hold the State of the City address here so people could come in and take a look at this building is huge. And to get the renderings that IRG forwarded to us to see what the rooms could look like, what the outdoor patio can look like, what the lobby can look like, is incredibly exciting. So we need to keep making those partnerships with Justin, the folks from IRG, and again, we need to keep connecting folks. But Justin earlier today shared with me we'll just call it a horizontal cross-section of what this building could look based on the different floor plates. It was incredibly exciting. If that vision could become a reality, I know everyone in this room would be ecstatic. So I'm going to end on a slide of the Herring Hall Marvin Safe Company. Some of you have heard me talk before. My family owned a small jewelry store in a town very similar to Hamilton, Muscatine, Iowa, on the Mississippi River. And we had a Herring Hall Marvin walk-in vault that said Hamilton O, which tells me it was done before, I think, 1916 when Oklahoma became a state. That's when we officially became OH. But it was in that building for well over 100 years. And this is the danger of letting buildings get too far away from you because, and no offense to Thornton, Thornton's is a great convenience store. I'm happy that they are there. But to have a building like that makes Hamilton unique. That is going back to what we need to preserve. This is what makes Hamilton Hamilton. Thornton's convenience store could be in anywhere USA. So we can't let too many more buildings slip through our fingers. We need to keep connecting people and resources to these structures because if we can recreate within these buildings that we currently have, that is what's going to set Hamilton apart going into the future. So before I pivot and go down a different topic, I've always liked this quote from Jack Welch, the former CEO of General Electric. He says, you talk about seeing around corners as an element of success. He talks about that's what makes or differs between a good leader. Not many people have it. Not many people can predict that corner. That would be a characteristic of great leaders. We spent a lot of time in the past 12 months working on several plans, and several people in this room participated in that process. The Riverfront Master Plan, the Hamilton City Plan, the JED, the Joint Economic Development District, JED Plan, which is what we just entered into with Fairfield Township in the last probably 12 months or so. So we have these plans. We try to peer around the corner as we develop these plans so we can see what's coming and what will be successful. But you think about a lot of the smart people in history. You have Aristotle, you have Socrates, but the philosopher that I have listened to the most, Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson said, everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face. And think about it. It's very true. You can put whatever you want in writing. You can put together whatever plan you want. But what happens when you get punched in your face? What happens when your paper mill leaves? What happens when your safe company leaves? What happens, and then you're reeling. And can you recover from that? And I was reading a devotional the other day, and I saw this, and I just wanted to highlight the last sentence. So stick to the fight when your heart is hit. It's when things go wrong that you must not quit. We now have these plans in place. We have momentum on our side. We are going to get punched again. That's inevitable. We're going to get punched many times again in the face. The question is, how do we react to getting punched in the face? Do we get up and keep fighting? Or do we retreat to our corner and just say, it's over? And the one thing about Hamilton's spirit that I love the most, since I've been here, we've never retreated to the corner yet. Okay, laser focus, 3 things. Spooky Nook, neighborhoods, development. So let's talk about Spooky Nook for a moment. Thank you, Mike. Mike sent me this photo. He used it in a presentation last week. I was like, I need to have that photo. But a night scene of the Champion Coated Paper Company. In the 1940s, Champion Paper put out this is not a weekly or monthly, this is a daily stat. 2.5 million pounds of paper a day. Wrap your brain around that. 2.5 million pounds of paper every single day. This was a juggernaut, a powerhouse. And now it sits empty. It sits like the safe company where Thornton's is. And this is why we have drawn a line in the sand and said this will not go the same way that Mercy Hospital went, that Mosler went, that Herring Hall Marvin went. And we have worked very hard, and we have been punched many times in the face over this project. Sam will tell you he's been punched in the face probably over the project a couple times too. So is it possible? Can you take a Champion Papers and a Nook Sports, merge those two together and have a successful project? We better, because we're putting signs in the ground saying it's opening in 2021, so. Why did Sam just run out of the room? He's gone. The thing about Spooky Nook that I hear from people sometimes, I want to make sure this is very, very clear. It is a sports complex, but it is so much more than a sports complex. It is truly a mixed-use development. It has convention space, it will have restaurants, it will have hotel, it will have retail, it will have a lot of things outside of a sports complex. And I really want to highlight this point. I remember when this came out in the Cincinnati Business Courier, probably in the last 8 months or so, I was reading it after work one night. I called, I think it was Mike Dollar, the CFO. I'm like, how much convention space are we going to have at Spooky Nook? And he said about 230,000 square feet. So let's put this in perspective. Duke Energy Convention Center is the largest in the region at 750,000 square feet. Spooky Nook, once constructed, will be the second largest convention space in the tri-state area. And that is a huge draw for everyone in Hamilton. It is bigger than the Northern Kentucky Convention Center. It's bigger than the one at the National Underground Railroad Freedom Center. It's bigger than the one at the Newport Aquarium. And Sharonville, which is the one I've been to probably the most since I've been here, it is 3 times larger than the convention center at Sharonville. And that is a huge statistic. And I want to make sure that was very clear to the folks tonight, because this really, I think, changes people's perspective when they think about this project. So how does that impact us? Well, first and foremost, from a 300-mile radius, you can see what cities it's going to pull in from. And their busy tournament weekends will pull people sometimes from outside a 300-mile radius. So the economic impact, Tourism Economics performed a study based on their current facility in Pennsylvania. So these are not numbers that are made up. These are numbers that are predicated on actual numbers that they saw that Spooky Nook did outside of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. 1.1 million visitors, almost 500,000 of those were from outside of the area. So what does that mean in terms of economic impact? The off-site spending in 2017 was almost $40 million. $40 million that currently is not being pumped into our local economy. $40 million is not being used at the convenience store, at the restaurants, at the coffee shop, at Flourish Home, at Village Ice Cream. Well, I shouldn't have said that quite yet, but we'll get to that in a moment. But I became curious, and I started looking up the U.S. Small Business Administration website about if you spend $100, how much of it actually stays in the community. So if you go to a local small business, almost half of that money stays in the community. If you go to a local chain, call it like an Applebee's, about a quarter of that $100 will stay in the community. If you shop on an Amazon, about $1 stays in that community. So almost $50 of $100 will stay at a local small business. That is the multiplier that we need in Hamilton on many levels, including for our small businesses, especially on Main Street. They're like, please get that damn road open and get Spooky Nook built so we can start making some money. But I think that's very, very important to highlight. Okay, I want to switch gears and talk about how important 17 Strong has been to our community, about neighborhoods in general, and Love Your Block program. So the mayor talked about this, so I'm not going to spend too much time. But again, the map for 17 Strong shows the 17 neighborhoods. The board for 17 Strong, again, I often think about this. You know, it's always fun to come to an event like tonight. We've got food and we've got drinks and you can talk to people that you know. The work being done at this level is tremendous. There's no fancy food. There's no fancy drinks. Sometimes you might go to a meeting. There might be 2 people from a neighborhood that show up. But people in this room are giving their time, their energy, their talents over and over again to make our community better. And I will tell you right now, we can do anything we want, but if we do not do this, we will not be successful. Kathy, thank you. Is Frank Downey here? Where's Frank Downey? There's Frank Downey is here. Is Joanne Wallace here? Joanne's not here. I can tell you tirelessly they work on this, and they are planting the seeds right now to, I think, tremendous success within our neighborhoods. I mean, you see the projects in Lindenwold, you see the projects in the North End, you see the projects at the elementary schools, and it's the stuff that's simply just not sexy. It's picking up trash. It is going door to door to engage residents. It's doing things that it's just not fun. I shouldn't say it's not fun, but it certainly is unrecognized most of the time. And we have to keep recognizing the 17 Strong group and all our volunteers that do that, because, I mean, again, that is the power of Hamilton. Bridging Neighborhoods, Sunday, September 23rd. 2 lanes will be shut down on the High Main Bridge. Is it 4 to 7? Municipal Brew Works, are they making beer for that?
Absolutely, in conjunction with Porter Barrel, special beer. Yeah.
I knew the answer to that. I just wanted someone to say it. But in collaboration with Quarter Barrel, you will have a special brew. But again, that's what makes Hamilton so awesome. Okay. Neighborhoods, let's talk about the Quick Strike Team for a second. So a couple years ago, we established what we call the Quick Strike Team, and I don't know if this is good or bad, but they are incredibly busy. And 1,000 trash complaints abated. When I say trash, I'm not talking about someone picking up a soda can on the side of the road. I'm talking about someone that dumped a couch in an alley or threw 2 mattresses on the side of the road. It's something, it's not fun work. It's not sexy work. It is dirty work most of the time, and I don't think they get some of the recognition they need. 6,000 lots mowed this year, and they also threw 15 concerts. So it's a sort of interesting department. They do a little bit of everything. They go pick up mattresses, and they have to throw a concert later on that night. But the River's Edge Concert Series, 30,000 attendees estimated this year. 34 states, we know that because we track some of the more ticketed events like David Shaw and the Revivalists. $1 million plus in economic impact. Again, something that didn't exist a couple years ago, but because of volunteers volunteering their time, it's been a huge boost for the community. And again, I don't want to speak for the restaurants, but I know being at BrewWorks after a concert, it generates people. And again, as we talked about earlier, those dollars multiply throughout the community. The mayor talked about My Hamilton portal. I want to thank Brandon Sarber and his team for their work on that. They did a great job. And again, it's about how do we keep pushing information to the residents. And the one thing I don't think the mayor said that should be launched this year. So if we have a snow event and you want to see where the snow plows are, you can go on this app, type in your address, and it will show you where the plows are and where they're heading. So new developments on the residential side. The Markham is getting close to having their first occupants move in, hopefully in the next 10 to 14 days. I love that view because you can just barely see the courthouse peeking over the top of that photo. But it's such an interesting perspective just being here when that was nothing but an empty lot. The mayor's already talked about the 204 units, or 206 units are going to be constructed at Miami Hamilton. Groundbreaking has been set for spring of 2019. Again, as the mayor said earlier, Miami Hamilton has been a tremendous partner with the city. I had the opportunity to attend the 50th anniversary celebration. Oh, Kathy's taking a photo. Hashtag SOTC 2018. But Jody, we got to grab some shovels. We got to be out there early, otherwise. But again, it's about those partnerships. So what does that mean for us? Over $30 million of investment between those 2 units, 306 new market rate apartments in Hamilton that did not exist a year ago or even today, because neither one of them is open yet. It's just it's that type of investment that we need that will draw more students into Miami Hamilton. It will draw more folks downtown, more people living downtown, eat at restaurants, drink beer, do many other things. All right, so new development on the entertainment and retail side. Oh, Aaron's starting to sweat now. He's like, what have I got myself into? Both of you and your wife, please stand up for a second. Our newest small business owners on Main Street. So Aaron had about 20 years of executive experience with graders, got smart, went down and bought Village Ice Cream, I believe in December of 2014. Oh, yeah, 2014. And has done a tremendous job, has won many awards, Best of the North, Best Hamburger, Best Ice Cream. This is a huge win as an anchor on Main Street. We have a great coffee shop. We have a great pizza place. We have, Quarter Barrel, which makes their own beer. We have all these other great places on Main Street. This is another piece in that puzzle to keep drawing people to Main Street that will, they're not going to go a lot of times just for ice cream. They're going to go maybe start off dinner. They may make a candle. They may go get their haircut. Whatever it is, it's drawing people to Main Street. Thank you very much to the Zwellings for doing this. This is a huge win, and you should be open 60 days? 90 days? They'll be open between today and 2 years from now, but they will get open. Before Halloween. There we go. All right. Pinball Garage. Oh, Councilman Brown. Yes, it's 1,000. But who's heard about this project? I know several of you have. I'm telling you, this is one of my favorite projects in Hamilton. I am so excited about this project. And New York style pizza, I believe hot dogs, video games, pinball machines, craft beers. You can't create a better combination than that. But it's important again because I guarantee you if people come down for this or they come down for whatever, there's always cross-pollination between the businesses. It is so important to get people come to downtown, and this will literally, in my mind, is going to keep pulling people from outside our corporate limits into our city, which is what we need. So thank you. Tano's. I talked to Chef Tano on the phone earlier this week. Unfortunately, he doesn't sound like he's probably going to open until February or March of next year. They're ordering kitchen equipment, doing other things. His Loveland restaurant, I think some of you knew, burned earlier this year. He's not even open there yet. He's supposed to open, he thinks, sometime before October 1st there. Once that is open, all of his attention, he says, will shift to Hamilton. So we anxiously await his arrival. Casual Pint actually should be open well before Tano's opens. Again, the thing I like about Casual Pint, they have the overhead garage door, if you look, that faces to the, I guess that would be to the south. So if you open that up, so you're sitting outside, you're looking right over Municipal Brew Works. I just think, again, it's going to be that fun combination. If Brew Works is so packed like they normally are, you can walk over and grab a beer there, then walk back over to Brew Works, you can get a Dora cup. You can do all kinds of things. Hamilton, Ohio. How's that for a commercial? A game night. I was never here when that restaurant was open. And wait a second. I know Bill Wilkes is here. Oh, my senior policy advisor, Mr. Wilkes. 1949 Ohio Mr. Basketball, who, by the way, averaged, how many points did you average your senior year at Ohio State? I know what it was. I looked it up yesterday. It was 10.8, but which is still very impressive. Big Ten averaged 10.8 points a game. But this is a great project. Again, a game night. They're working hard at this. And it's going to be, again, especially for the German Village neighborhood, this is going to be a nice little anchor. Revive Salon, going to be in the Markham development. You can get your haircut. You can get jalapeno relish. It's a sort of a cool combination. Who was aware about Bones Brothers coming? Just a few. Bones Brothers will be opening in the Markham. They're going to be going in between Casual Pint and in between the Aveda Salon. So sort of facing, well, I guess all faces the Marriott, but closer to the Brewworks side, if you will. So that's if you've not been to MBW when they've had their food truck here, great food. This will be their first bricks and mortar location. Chipotle. I talked to the guys from Chipotle yesterday. I'm like, are you really coming or not? Because I got to say something. Someone's going to ask me the question. They are coming. They told me to say they'll be open in the summer of 2019. What they told me I wasn't allowed to say was it should really be by April 2019. So we're going to keep our fingers crossed that we can get the building permits issued, get it under construction. They want to have the shell built before winter, do the interior work, and get that open out in front of our movie theater on Main Street. Brookwood, I talked to the folks that bought, they did close on the Brookwood development last week, and the shopping center has been the bane of many cars in Hamilton. I tried to go out there and take a photo, and I lost my tire, but they promised me, I know I'm on camera, they promised me within 30 days they're going to be doing serious repairs to the parking area. Now, they're going to mill and resurface everything, but they promise they will do serious repairs to the parking area in the next 30 days. If they do not start in the next 30 days, we will be hounding them. But no, really good guys. They have a vision, and I'm very excited. The plan's not the most exciting. I will tell you from what they're telling me, they're working with a ton of commercial realtors and also retailers in particular that we don't have in Hamilton that they are trying to bring here. So it will be a nice complement to what I call more of our traditional shopping area on the west side. So I was curious, talked to economic development. I said since January 1st of 2017 to today, how many retail places opened, food and drink places opened, and health and wellness places opened? 8, 12, and 5. And again, that was important to me because that's always an indication of the vibrancy of a community. We can bring in the jobs, but how do you keep jobs? You have to have things that that workers want to go to. And workers want to do yoga. They want to go to the Y. They want to get a gourmet hamburger. They want to go shop somewhere fun. And so this tells me that we have a lot of work ahead of us, but I truly believe we're trending in the right direction. On the industrial side, Durana Hybrid, it's a company that our economic development staff has worked with for a long time. They actually closed. They will close soon on this building on Bell Avenue. And it's something that will breathe new life back into that, and it's going to be, Jody, how many employees? Over 100 employees in Lindenwold. So again, that'll be, I think, a very big win for Lindenwold. So if you are on Bypass 4, just a little bit north of Sims Road, this is Salvanini. This is a $6 million showroom that should start construction soonish, yes. Sometimes I use Pig Latin, sometimes I go to soonish, but this is a model of a facility that's going to be built behind ThyssenKrupp Bilstein. Bilstein is actually going to use about half of the facility. The other half will be leased out, so it'll be built as flex industrial space. So this construction should start also very soon. JWF Technologies is actually under construction right now in the Enterprise Park. How many employees there? 60 employees. So it's incremental. You know, we try every year to keep adding the jobs into Hamilton. And the one that the mayor talked about earlier tonight, 80 acres farms. I can't even begin to tell you how excited I am about this one. Jody and his team kept talking about 80 acres. And I'm like, 80 acres? Who cares about 80 acres? We got other things to work on. He took me down there, and I'm telling you, I was an instant convert. When you go into 80 acres, and they're called 80 acres because in this little facility they have in Cincinnati, they can produce as much produce as 80 acres of farm field. And the one room they took us in was kale. And they said if you grow kale outdoors traditionally, you might get 2 crops in the course of a calendar year. Mostly you only get 1 crop. 80 acres in the same amount of space, or much less space actually, can produce 17 crops in 12 months. 17 versus 1 or 2 crops. And the guy that runs 80 acres, Mike, if you talk to him, he is a genius. He was talking, I kept looking at Jim Logan, I'm like, what is he talking about? Jim's an engineer, I couldn't even understand what the hell he was saying, but it was so impressive, I was like, we got to get these guys here. And some of you may not even be aware of this. Who knows what the former Miami Motor Car Company is located? Steve Timmer would, of course. Mike Dingledine would, of course. But that's what it says on the outside of the building. It was used as a furniture store for many years, so it's on, I guess that would be South 2nd Street, right? South 2nd Street. They are investing, I talked to Mike on the phone, the CEO, yesterday, between $3 and $4 million in that building in our downtown. I don't know how that's possible, but they said they are $3 to $4 million just in that building. But what they're doing is, I mean, that is just, it's almost, because we asked them to buy a building in the downtown. Jody's like, you need to buy a building in the downtown. I didn't realize they're going to spend $3 or $4 million on a building in the downtown, but they are putting a huge facility at Enterprise Park. And that is going to be it'll be the first in the world, the first fully fledged vertical growing operation in the world, and they can grow almost any vegetable that you think of. For the record, this is not marijuana. I had like 3 people say, they're like, ooh, cash crop. I'm like, no, that is lettuce. But I swear this is all about the vegetable. Okay, so let's talk about economic development snapshot. I'm going to wrap up here in a moment. 4,000 jobs have been added, and I think, to be fair, I mean, that includes Barclays 1,500. So Barclays is not at 1,500 yet. So these are jobs that have been created or promised by state tax credits. So if they don't create them, they get in trouble. So they have to hurry up and create them. So 4,000 jobs either created or in the process of being created, $100 million in projected investment, and $1 billion in new payroll. So, I mean, again, I want to say thank you to Jody and his team and the whole city, because the whole city ostensibly acts as the economic development department. A wise man not named Mike Tyson told me just a couple days ago, about a week ago actually, we were talking about this. I'm like, how do you summarize this? And Brandon was sitting in my office, and he said, preservation without progress lacks sustainability. And right away, I thought about Interstate 75. You know, the Hamilton leaders in the 1950s were so concerned about preserving what we had in the 1950s, the interstate got by us. So you can have the preservation, but without the progress, you can't be financially sustainable. And progress without preservation lacks identity, and the Herring Hall Marvin Safe Company is perfect. We didn't preserve that, and in the name of progress, it was torn down, and now we have a convenience store. So how do you balance the preservation with the progress? And that's what I was really trying to hammer home tonight, is that we can do it. We just have to be very cognizant of it, very purposeful about how we're doing it. But I think that we've done a good job. I mean, this building is a great job. All of Steve's buildings in downtown Hamilton have been a great job. Where Quarter Barrel is, where Municipal Brew Works is, I mean, that is just a tremendous reuse. So 2019, maybe. I was told I had to hedge a little bit, but the State of the City address in 2019, you better buy your tickets now, will be held at Spooky Nook Sports at Champion Mill. And balancing the preservation and the progress, 2 of our oldest restaurants, Hyde's and Richard's, will be serving food that night. And 2 of our newest microbreweries, Municipal Brew Works and Quarter Barrel, will be providing drinks that night. And we will be at Champion Paper at Spooky Nook Sports. With that said, make sure you go see this film that was partially filmed in Hamilton. It had people like Casey Affleck, Danny Glover, Sissy Spacek, and the 2 biggest co-stars, Francis Smith and Robert Redford. Thank you.
I'm Jason Smith, the president of the Linwall Kiwanis of Hamilton and Fairfield. We should give our round of applause again for our mayor and our city manager and stepping up the city. Thank you all again for coming out. God bless.